All right, let's do the competition. So, cancel out of your existing games. Run Python BinHunt Pi with a 3 at the end. Enter 2 so that you're doing class mode. And await the seed.
When does the timing start? When you hit return
The
after
time
the seed?
starts after the seed starts. I tried to make sure I put it in the right spots. 1337 is your seed. Yeah, I think there's an off by 1 error in the counting up of the number of flags that are set right now. So I've got 2 people show it. So if it asks you, how many flags are set up here? 3, right? But I think it says 2, so like somewhere I'm missing in the game incorporation. So if it asks you how many flags are set, do a -1. I will fix that and like that. Update it, and then we got to copy over things. I think it's just an off by 1 error. So some people may have stumbled where it asked like a virtual address, and you maybe put in an RVA, but if it's saying like what is the VA, it's saying take whatever RVA you would have calculated and add the base address, which you pull out of the optional head. Yeah,
Expected
right.
value.
So I think I need to kind of draw a picture for this because it is kind of ambiguous. So fill over the board. So what size of image is trying to tell you is that, like there's, well in this case it would be all of this. Size of image is trying to tell you like in memory. All right, so size of image back in the optional headers is trying to tell you this takes up all this space in memory. And when I'm asking, is the size of image correct or what should the size of image be, what I'm basically saying is that, within a given file, it's got some number of sections, and the sections are really what determine what gets mapped from file into memory. We'll see a similar thing in ELF files later. So we got our data, and then let's say this is without reloc or something like that. And you see that I randomized the names and stuff like that. Right? And each of these has some RVA associated with it, this virtual address, and then it's got some size. And then this has an RVA, and then it has a size. And this has an RVA, and then it has a size. And so what I'm really just trying to say with these questions about, is the size of image correct, is that I'm saying, when you look at, where these sections get placed in memory and how much space they take up, when you go down and this is a point that sort of that Dave made, these things don't necessarily take up all the space, right? So this thing could have, an RVA of hex 3000, for instance, but then the size of image could be equal to like hex 200, and then this guy could have an RVA of 4000, and then it could have a total size of hex 100 or something like that, right? So what that would really more accurately look like is that you would have this size of 200 being like this much space, and then this would all be just sort of like a gap of space that, there's nothing mapped in from file right here, so it's uninitialized memory basically. So, you'll see this with basically all of them. Very few sections are going to take up exactly, hex 1000 worth of space, whereas you'll see that most commonly these sections themselves will be aligned on that section alignment of hex 1000, right? Way back in the optional header, we talked about the section alignment, and we said most of the time that means basically that these things will be mapped into memory at hex 1000 aligned addresses. So again, size of image should basically be, take all of your sections, and if you just add them up, the thing is you're not accounting for the fact that continuously or doing all of this memory, there's going to be these gaps in there. And so the simple way to do it is basically you just go to the last thing and you recognize that, look, there are going to be spaces in here with uninitialized padding in memory between these sections. And you just go to the last one and you add this plus that, and you say, that's my total size. And so it's kind of, arguable and things like that. Dave was saying, well, the size really is this because this is the stuff that's actually used, right? It never actually touches this gap between there. No code in the program should be touching that gap in there. So you can say, well, is it using this memory or is it using all of this memory? It's definitely ambiguous, but for purposes of this game, it's using all of this memory because the OS loader has to actually allocate all of that memory. Even though there's these gaps and paddings and things like that, nobody else can use it. It's still just, the OS is allocating chunks of hex 1000 at a time because that's the smallest unit it can deal with. So it's using all of this memory totally. So, any other questions about this? That makes sense to everybody?